Greetings, everyone. I'm Rising Nazaire. I'm here to share some thoughts that empower and help take your life to the next level. And one of the ways that I do that is through the Thoughtful Thursday series. And each Thursday, we take a nugget of wisdom and dive deeper into that nugget of wisdom and help us to see it in a way that is more expansive and that debunks any limiting beliefs that we might have so that we can enhance and thrive more in our lives. And so today's hold that thought is easy. It's you are the harmony within the paradox. We are the harmony within the paradox, and we get to claim that space because life is a blend of contradictions. It's a mix of opposites that we are constantly navigating. And at times, it feels as though it's really overwhelming to hold space for those polarities, for the up and the down, for the joy and the sorrow, for the chaos and the calm, or the strength and the vulnerability. And let me take a step back and describe what a paradox is. So, a paradox is a statement or a concept that appears to be self contradictory or maybe even logically inconsistent, but it reveals a deeper truth when we look at it upon closer examination. And it challenges what the majority of people believe, conventional reasoning, because it presents two seemingly opposite ideas that coexist or are interdependent. Yet within the paradox is a really deep truth is that we are not separate from opposites because as the experiencer, we are the harmony that bridges these apparent or supposing opposites. As sentient human beings, we're here to feel. And so we get to feel our way between the opposites. So, where we sit on the spectrum of an oxymoron is where we are experiencing the bridge between the two. For example, you have bittersweet. Like there's a space between bitter and sweet where there's balance. So if you stay on the sweet side and you're totally blissed out, then you're missing the opportunity for growth that comes with the bitter, and you're pushing off energies into the shadows that are only going to come up later. And then at the other side of the spectrum, if you're too focused on the bitter, then you won't be able to even see the sweet. And so we need to find that balance in between where we can have an experience that feels like the highest balance that we can achieve in that present moment. So it won't be all bitter, it won't be all sweet. It'll be some combination within where we feel balanced and are able to move forward in life. And so it really takes thoughtful sentience, like really sitting and feeling to bridge and balance those polarities, those parities, or seemingly opposite things. And you might even say that balancing an oxymoron is an oxymoron. But the truth of it is that balance isn't static, it's ever changing, it's dynamic. So we are always going to have to continually shift and change with it. And our our goal to seek balance at all times is what fuels our expansion in life. And that's where we find the harmony in the parity. And so there are components of finding harmony and parity because as I said, they are interdependent. So you can't have hot without cold and all that occurs in between. And it seems to be contradictory that you really can't have hot and cold together, but we experience that as warm. So with all things polar, there's going to be that spectrum in between where we have experiences of the combination of those apparently polar opposites. And we get to realize that they are actually one. They are two sides of the same coin, and we can experience that unity in diversity. And to get to that unity in diversity, the integration of what appears to be either or, one or the other, we are now looking at the spectrum of possibilities that are in between. And this, in general, is always life enhancing because it's never just either or. There are an endless amount of possibilities in between. It's up to us to balance those polarities. And that's where the creative tension comes in, as I mentioned with bittersweet. How much bitter, let's say, in a circumstance, let's say you've lost a loved one and maybe they were in a lot of pain. So, and you had a good life with them. And so, therefore, you have the bitter and the sweet. So, your experience with that person has been bittersweet. If you, again, focus too much on the bitter, then you will experience and attract to yourself bitter things. Focus too much on the sweet, and you're actually blissing yourself out to a certain degree because as a human, a sentient and feeling human, you're going to miss that person, and there's the bitter side that comes with that. So we have to find that balance, and that's where creative tension comes in. Then we allow that to be integrated, and we'll see that again, never either or. Its duality is an illusion in itself because we still have all of the endless possibility in between, and we can choose where we stand on the spectrum. We can say, I am the bridge. I am the bridge between this bittersweet experience, and I hold space for both the bitter and the sweet, and then choose where you stand on that bridge. Well, there's never going to be 100% balance because of the constant of change. It's always going to be shifting, shifting, shifting. But if you can choose to stand and shift more towards the sweet than the bitter, we always have the choice. And then there are so many words and expressions that we actually use that exemplify this oxymoron or the parody of harmony, such as still motion. For an example, you see someone doing Tai Chi or even yoga, silent meditations, you actually get to experience what still motion looks like, to be moving, but with the fullness of stillness. Or purposeful trauma. You've had an experience where it felt really bad as it was occurring, but at the end of the day, it turned out that it was a good thing and set you off in the right direction, such as being fired from a job, which allows you to step into your own authentic self and express more of the gifts that you have to give to the world. And then there's unforced edge, right? When we think of edge, we think of something sharp, of pushing, of brute force. Yet there's a way to relax into change and relax into getting to that next level without being sharp and blunt and forceful. And the last one I'm sharing here is deafening silence. There are so many more, right? And if you can think of some, just put that in the chat. and share that with us today. So deafening silence, silence so loud that that's that's all that you can hear, which is the oxymoron because you don't hear silence. I remember when I first moved to this area from New York City, and there were just moments where there was no sound at all. It was deafening silence. After coming from all of that noise, the silence just seemed so loud. So I know you can definitely think of some more words like that. And so, how do we move through this? What are some simple steps that we can take that will help us to harmonize parity? And a first step is acknowledging without judgment. We can recognize that those opposing forces or those elements, the parts of the parody, without trying to judge or to fix it, to resolve it in that moment. And then as a second step, we can explore the content and the meaning of the parody, right? So consider the situation and see how it might be meaningful. For example, I used bittersweet and how the death of a loved one or even a pet um, is and can be bittersweet, an oxymoron. And then reflect on the unity of those opposites. How does bitter and sweet actually come together? And then what comes out of that union? Where on the scale of bittersweet am I for a particular situation? And then embrace it. Embrace that the two seemingly opposites of bitter and sweet are part of the whole experience. And we get to experience that fullness when we don't reject either side, the bitter or the sweet. And then apply that insight into our life and see how it allows us to grow and informs us, and then integrate the lesson to help us to navigate life moving forward with more clarity and flexibility. So the parity isn't something that you have to fix or do. It is a part of the wholeness and fullness of life. It's something that you get to live and experience. As sentient beings, we came here to feel. We are creative beings who are feeling our way through life. And we'll often find paradox within that. So remember, it's not something to be resolved or healed. It's here to be experienced. If you like what you heard, please like and share with others. I can be found on social media at Think Be Well Now. And you can find out more about me on my website, raisatheauthor.com, and go to the services tab where you'll see my books, any workshops that are currently going on. I have journals available as well. I do speaking engagements. I speak around relaxing into change and really embodying that unforced edge that I mentioned earlier. And I also do one-on-one coaching sessions. So thank you for joining, and I hope to see you next time on Thoughtful Thursdays at 3.